Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective Podcast.
Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective. I'm Mark Billingsley, the host. I'm chairman of the Shelby County Board of Commissioners, and today I'm truly honored to be with a great friend, a national leader, a local leader, Carol Johnson-Dean, Dr. Carol Johnson-Dean. She's currently the interim president of Lemoyne-Owen College in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. Carol Johnson-Dean served as superintendent at Boston Public Schools from 2007 through 2013. Having being appointed unanimously by the Boston School Committee. And also, of course, Dr. Johnson-Dean is no stranger to Memphis. She has a wealth of experience. You know her name because prior to her appointment in Boston, Dr. Johnson-Dean was superintendent in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Memphis, Tennessee, and St. Louis Park, Minnesota. Dr. Johnson-Dean is married to Dr. Willie Dean, a retired YMC executive, and together they share 6 adult children. I don't know how she does all she does, but today we're with Dr. Carol Johnson-Dean from Lemoyne-Owen College. Carol, it is so good to see you today.
It's good to see you. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for inviting me to join you. We are really fortunate to have your leadership and have such support from the County Commission.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. But again, I'm honored for you to be on the program. You have put your footprint all over the United States, especially with your leadership and education. It's really hard to believe, but you're actually coming up on your 1-year anniversary as the interim president of Lemoyne-Owen. What's it been like to be back in Memphis, and what is it like leading Lemoyne-Owen College?
Well, Mr. Chair, I grew up in West Tennessee in Brownsville, about 50 miles away. So being back in Memphis is like being right at home. So I feel pretty comfortable. And I was honored to be asked to serve on the Lemoyne-Owen College Board of Trustees. And so when they were making some changes, they asked me to just for this 1 year to take the interim position as president and to try to actually do some work with the college. And because I am such a strong advocate for historically Black colleges, and Lemoyne in particular, and Memphis specifically, I was honored to do that. And I've had a wonderful opportunity with students, dedicated faculty and staff, and really a large community of support here in Memphis. So glad to be back home.
For people that are not familiar with HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs actually came with before the Civil Rights Act of '64. Can you just tell us a little bit about the history of HBCUs and why they are so critically important? I've been concerned with COVID and a lot of challenges. We've seen the decrease, I believe, of HBCUs in the last couple of years, but Lemoyne-Owen is getting stronger. But again, what's the historical perspective and the importance of HBCUs?
So many of the historically Black colleges were founded in the 1860s, actually, either right before or right after the Civil War, to ensure that freed slaves could be educated. And many of them started, like Lemoyne did, as an elementary school, actually. And wow. So that history goes way back. Lemoyne-Owen College is the only historically Black college here in Memphis. But it was established in 1862, and it was established originally with money from the American Missionary Association, donating money for the freed slaves, and also to make sure that they did get an education. And then it went on. It was originally just Lemoyne College. It wasn't Lemoyne-Owen, and then later on, the college merged with what was S.A. Owen Junior College, which was named after the Reverend S.A. Owen Junior College, Reverend S.A. Owen, who was a pastor here and also was head of the Tennessee Baptist Convention. Wow. And when they merged the junior college and Lemoyne College, it became Lemoyne-Owen College. And so that is really the history. I will say this, that Lemoyne got its start with a $20,000 gift from the Reverend Julius Lemoyne, or the Dr. Wow. Julius Lemoyne. He was a medical doctor, a white abolitionist who wanted to support the education of Black students. And so even though he lived in Philadelphia, he contributed really the first $20,000 that put Lemoyne on this path that we have inherited 158 years later.
Well, before we talk about challenges of reopening and COVID, let's talk about some success. An unprecedented gift to Lemoyne-Owen College. You had a $40 million gift recently given to Lemoyne-Owen from the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis. What is that like? I mean, that is, I raised money at another university, at Christian Brothers University. But when you talk about $40 million, you're talking about a transformative gift. What kind of words can you what kind of words do you put behind that? $40 million.
Yes, you have to say wow and thank you. Praise the Lord. I really have to say that this is a tremendous gift. It's the largest gift that the college has ever received in its 158-year history. And certainly it's the largest that almost any historically Black college has ever received. So thanks to the Memphis community, to the Community Foundation, to Bob Faulkner, and so many people who really believed in the college, who understand that the higher education community is very important to the success of Memphis. And Lemoyne-Owen College is particularly important in terms of educating students who otherwise would not have opportunity, because many students, they're the first person in their family to go to college. And we have a large number of students who are eligible for state and federal financial aid. And so it's really, this investment is really important. Sometimes people think I have $40 million now in the bank. Right. So I do want to help them understand that it is a beneficiary endowment gift that will generate about 5% or $2 million a year. But that's a huge sum of money for us. And so we couldn't be more thrilled and excited. Actually, tears came to my eyes when Bob Faulkner called me, because I literally could not believe that this could be happening. So it's a true blessing. We hope that working with our Board of Trustees, and we have an outstanding Board of Trustees, that we will be able to enrich our scholarship programs for students and make more opportunities available. We will definitely want to make sure that we invest in technology infrastructure. That's so important. And then I think that we want to grow our enrollment. We're right about 800 students, but we'd like to be closer to 1,000.
Do many of the students that go to Lemoyne actually live in the dorms, or are they primarily individuals that come from families here in the Memphis area?
Most of them do come from families in the Memphis area, but you'd be surprised. A lot of Memphis students want to live on campus. I don't know if they want to be away from home, be away from parents, being away from supervision or the freedom. But we have about 400 students who have lived in the dorms. Although, as we prepare for the fall, we're going to be cutting that just in half, because we have to make sure that we honor the social distancing and the health recommendations from public health officials about students being at a distance.
Every time I see you, Dr. Dean, you're always collaborating with individuals. I know I've seen you at Christian Brothers University with Jack Shannon. I've seen you with Marjorie Haas at Rhodes. Tell me about your spirit of collaboration, because I think as a Memphian, I get really excited when I see the president of CBU, the president of Rhodes, and Lemoyne-Owen all getting together, collaborating. It seems like the three of you and others are all in this together. So tell us a little bit about that collaboration.
I'm so glad you asked that question, because it's really an important part of what I think makes Memphis great. And I think just yesterday I was on the phone with President Jack Shannon. We are so fortunate that he's come to Memphis, and he really is a collaborator too with Christian Brothers University. And actually, Christian Brothers University, Lemoyne-Owen College, and the University of Memphis have something uniquely in common. We all have a high school on our campuses. Wow. And so we're always not only serving the higher ed community, but we're educating students through the middle college at CBU, which has really done an outstanding job of educating students and moving them on to college. We have the Hollis F. Price on our campus, and then campus school on the University of Memphis campus. So I think, first of all, we have a lot in common in what we believe is important for the college and for the city community. But actually, when I first took this position and I talked to Dr. Haas, President Haas just is such a collaborator too. And I think that through this pandemic, we've all been on the phone together at one time or another, sharing ideas, sharing plans, commiserating about what is the best strategy to use. And I think each of our colleges it's kind of unique and special. Dr. Hall at Tracy Hall at Southwest.
Right.
And so I think all of us tend to try to work in collaboration, and certainly President Rudd too has shared his plans at the university, and it also has said, as we come up with things that we think that the university can help us with, we all can reach out. For CBU to also have hired such a new president who is such a collaborator and such a Memphian already, I think speaks volumes about the potential of Memphis to make a huge difference in the work that we do. Former Governor Bill Haslam always wanted to set a goal of 55% of the young people in the Tennessee having a college or some kind of certification. And I believe that we are going to be stronger and better for that. And we're going to move that agenda forward and make sure that we make it happen.
Dr. Johnson-Dean, I know this is a very fluid time. Things honestly change by the hour related to education and COVID-19. It's my understanding that students attending Lemoyne-Owen will begin virtually this fall, but also with that, you've also created an opportunity. It's my understanding that students will get a laptop and internet access provided. Can you tell us a little bit about the fall plans and what those decisions have been like? Because again, these are unprecedented times. You're having to make very tough decisions. And again, it seems like things change every time we get a new COVID report. And again, you're talking about the lives of young people trying to get their education and move on to a job. What has that been like? And again, what are the plans?
Mr. Chair, we are really all concerned about the COVID and the impact that it's having, particularly in the African-American community, and as a historically Black college, and a college that over half of our faculty are African-American or Black faculty members, and also over the age of 55. So we have particular concerns not only about making sure our students are safe, but our faculty and staff remain safe. On March 16th, students went on spring break. On March 23rd, we realized they couldn't come back immediately. Right. And we started training our faculty to go remotely. And thanks to the leadership in our faculty and the willingness to just completely change gears and go remote, we were able to swiftly start going remote. And we did for the complete end of the semester. We had a virtual graduation. And then we offered 2 summer sessions, both virtual and remotely. And our last summer session will end just next week, July 29th. And we've been thinking long and hard about what to do as we enter this fall. We do want students to come back, but we have to put special precautions in place. We have to have protocols and practices, and we have to work a little bit harder than we did last semester, I think, to make that happen. We are going to start remotely on August 12th. So all of our classes will be remotely. We'll be giving out computers to all of our students, because what we learned last year was a lot of our students either depended on coming to the campus, to the laboratories, the technology labs on campus, or they went to the central library, to the Benjamin Hooks Library, and they used that. When the library closed and the campus closed, they were without technology and they were without internet access. And so we had to rush around and work with alumni and get donations for that. This year, we're very pleased that both with donations from obviously the Shelby County Commission, we couldn't be more grateful, and also with resources from the city and the stimulus, we're going to be able to put technology in the hands of every student. We're working with other companies like Comcast Essentials and others to make sure we find hotspots and ways for students to get online, even if they're staying at home. And we're pretty excited that we've had really strong support from the county, strong support from county commissioners, especially people like you and Mikkel Lowry and Reginald Milton, people who really truly understand the importance of making sure every student has their own computer. You know, sometimes people think that if we just give one computer to the household, that'll be enough. Right. But if you have 3 students and they're all trying to do homework or stay abreast of courses, it helps for every student to have their own technology. And with a partnership with Microsoft, we're able to get a reduced rate and be able to do that.
And it's just wonderful. If you're just now tuning in, you're listening to the Chairman's Perspective. today I'm really honored to have the interim president of Lemoyne-Owen College with us. We're in Memphis, Tennessee today with Carol Johnson-Dean, Dr. Carol Johnson-Dean. Again, I just want to thank you for everything that you and the leaders at Lemoyne-Owen are doing, as well as the other university leaders that you mentioned in this community, Dr. Rudd, Dr. Jack Shannon and Marjorie Haas, and you, Dr. Dean, for what you're doing. This has been a difficult year. As a leader, what are your reflections on those children that did not get to walk across a traditional graduation stage? Are you concerned about the long-term effects of that, or do you think most of our kids are pretty resilient and they'll come back from some of these disappointments?
Well, we did try to reach out to our students. As I said, we had planned a whole virtual graduation where each of them had a chance to be featured on the. So even though it wasn't in person, and I think the biggest thing is, their families missed out on watching them on stage, and we're going to look and see if we're able to come back later in this academic year, if we should do something specially for them. But right now, I think we're very focused on how to open best. And this past week, we announced a special partnership that we have with Methodist Lebanon Health Systems. And that's really going to help us put a health and wellness center right on our campus, help us get supplies and materials, and also put in protocols for testing, for screening students when they come, taking temperatures, getting flu shots. And also, we know there's a shortage of tests right now, and there's a backlog, obviously, of getting results. But one of the reasons that we're delaying the entry into the dorms until after Labor Day, even though we're starting, obviously, classes on August 12th, the after Labor Day gives us a chance to do some of that testing and getting results back and making sure that we can ensure a safe place for students to come. Obviously, since we can only put one student in each dorm room right now, we will have fewer students on campus, but we do want to resume bringing students back in a safe and healthy way. And we want to promise their parents that they will be safe when they return.
Well, I have every belief you'll do that, Dr. Dean. Right now there's certainly a much needed and overdue national conversation about racial inequity. Based on everything I know about Lemoyne-Owen College, Lemoyne has had really a long time role in fostering local and national conversations about racial inequity. I know that conversation has grown quite a bit since the killing of George Floyd and other recent tragedies. As the leader of Lemoyne-Owen, what do you feel your role is, and what type of voice should we offer our students to appropriately raise their voices to see some change that is long overdue?
Well, this is a really important time, and a really important time for this conversation. And certainly at a historically Black college, we are particularly sensitive to the inequities and to discrimination. And while we've talked a lot about law enforcement, I want to emphasize how important education and healthcare are. Right. Because I think that we all have to look at our own and examine our own ways in which we can create more equitable systems. So if we as educators aren't doing everything to inspire students who live in poverty or who are African American to actually achieve at their highest levels, we know that the COVID is having a disparate impact on the African American community. In fact, what I heard from the health department is 61% of all of the COVID deaths in Memphis have been African American. Right. And also that the fastest growing population of positive tests happen to be in the 18 to 34-year-old range, and disproportionately represented again by African American students. So we're particularly concerned about the issues of race and the disparate impacts that race can have if students don't get a good education, if they don't have a certificate or a college degree and try to get a job because the economy is suffering at this time. And a lot of our students lost, potential jobs that help to subsidize their education. And we also know that when people don't have access to good health care, which is one of the ways in which Methodist Lamana Healthcare will help us, is because they have a number of sites across the city, and they'll be able to make sure our students get prioritized for testing as they need to. And also, it's not just taking care of COVID, it's also preventive. I think the conversations, though, about race and about how we work in a positive manner with law enforcement or even with disciplinary practices in schools are all important topics for us to have conversations about. I think Memphis is unique in its willingness to have those conversations. I think the National Civil Rights Museum, organizations like Facing History and ourselves
absolutely
have all been part of the conversation, and we should continue to look to them to create opportunities and forums for us to come together. As you mentioned, Mr. Chair, a lot of families, even though they live in Memphis, don't know anything about Lemoyne-Owen College or its history or its legacy or the important role it plays in educating African-American students here in this community. And so I think we have a real responsibility and opportunity to educate them on that legacy, and also for them to see the important role Lemoyne has played in this community.
How life-changing can it be, Dr. Dean, for that first child to graduate from college? You've seen all aspects of this because you're former superintendent here in Memphis at the high school. Former superintendent of all schools in Memphis and Shelby County. But how powerful is it for that child to be the first one to graduate from college?
I always say, and this is a line actually that I'm stealing from the former governor of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick. He used to say that it only takes a single generation, that if you can educate one person in a family to go to college and finish college, or get a certificate and finish certificate, or go to the military and get a training, if you can get one person, that changes the trajectory of every family member that comes after them, because they now know that a college education is possible, that having a skill and getting a good job, that is possible. And so that one student changes the trajectory, not just for that one student, but every student in that family that comes next. Right. And so I think that if you look at Memphis and you look at the graduates of Lemoyne-Owen College, even though we're a small college, we're disproportionately represented in the leadership that has made a difference in Memphis. For example, the first Black mayor and the first Black superintendent, Mayor W. Harrington. Everybody knows Mayor Harrington. He's a graduate of Lemoyne-Owen College. In the faith community, Bishop G.E. Patterson, who is known for all of the work with the Church of God in Christ, a graduate of Lemoyne-Owen College. Representative Johnny Turner was with some of the original protests back in the 60s that were initiated by students at Lemoyne-Owen College to integrate schools. And she was a graduate of Lemoyne-Owen College. Senate Pro Tem Lois D. Berry, or current state representatives Larry Miller or Joe Towns, and even on your own commission, Mikhail Lowry, and also Reginald Milton, all Lemoyne-Owen graduates. So I think when you look around and you talk to teachers, a lot of the great teachers in Memphis City schools back in the day and today in Shelby County are Lemoyne-Owen graduates. So I think Lemoyne has already made a statement about the importance of developing leadership. Lemoyne has made a statement about the fact that a lot of the people I'm talking about didn't come from families where everybody in their family went to college. They came from families where nobody went to college, and they became the sort of beacons of hope, the beacons of light, to make sure that everybody understood that it is possible and that African-American students can achieve at high levels, and they can contribute to this community. They can help us develop a more diverse workforce, and they can make a true difference in the lives of other people. I think we do need African-American leadership to address the disparities that continue to occur, and also the challenges that are faced in the Black community in particular.
I absolutely agree with you. Just in talking about inspiring leaders, prior to joining Lemoyne-Owen, Dr. Johnson-Dean, you actually served as Executive Director of New Leaders, a national organization providing leadership development for aspiring principals and teachers. You know, it is a difficult time right now, and asking faculty members and teachers to return to the classroom, of course, with COVID. But prior to COVID, it was difficult to ask principals and teachers to re-enter the classroom. Even in good times, we have a lot of people that listen to this program, a lot of teachers, a lot of principals. What words of leadership and hope do you give to our educators, because they're on the front line like you each and every day trying to motivate a child to take that next step? What do you say to our teachers and principals to hang in there?
Well, of course, I have huge respect for teachers and principals, and think of myself mostly as a teacher. But I also know this, that parents will choose a school based on the teachers that teach there, and also based on who the principal happens to be. Parents will stay in a school district because of principal leadership. And I also know the best teachers in the world will stay in the most difficult and challenging situations if they believe in the leadership of the schools. So one of the reasons that I try to focus so heavily on developing the right talents for people who want to be principals, but also making sure we nurture and develop those talents, because it's the only way you're going to get parents to choose schools, and it's the only way you're going to get great teachers to stay. I think as all of us open this fall, we have to actually pay attention to how to create a safe community. And one of the things, of course, that we're doing at Lemoyne-Owen College is we're taking our time, and we're starting remotely. And then we're going to make sure during August that we do all the sanitizing, that we put up all the signs, that we mark off what it means to be 6 feet apart. Right. We're going to have to reduce the size of classes. We can't have, we have a small campus, so we've even had smaller classes like 20, but we can't have 20 people in a class. We have to have masks. We have to have shields. We have to, have some air purifiers, and we have to actually monitor every single day with questionnaires. And so I think that even in the K-12 community, I know that Superintendent Ray is working hard, and others in his administration are working hard to actually try to figure out how to bring people back safely. We will have to change schedules. We will have to change how many students are in a classroom. And so there are things that can be done, but this is a very serious pandemic. We have to take it seriously, and we have to do everything possible to protect our children and to protect the wonderful teachers and educators that we have. And I believe that our educators want to do a good job. They want to come back, but they also need to be assured that even at Lemoyne-Owen College, that when they return, that I have taken every single precaution possible to keep them safe. What that means, though, is that some classes will continue to be remote. So we'll do kind of a hybrid. Sure. And some of our classes will be in person with very small classes with all the protections in place. And I think that we also have set aside some spaces for quarantine, because if a student does get sick, we cannot have them participate in the same way. If a student gets sick and they go home, if they're not real sick, they can still stay remotely with us. We don't want them to be out of class if we can keep them remotely in class. These are all very difficult decisions, and we all have to work collectively together to try to come up with the best solutions that both make sure our students keep learning, but also, most importantly, that everyone remains safe and healthy.
This has been a wonderful show with Carol Johnson-Dean, Dr. Carol Johnson-Dean. She is the president of Lemoyne-Owen College in Memphis, Tennessee. I wish you the very, very best this fall semester. We wish you great safety for all your students. Please keep up the work. It is so important, especially right here in Memphis. You're doing such a great job, Carol. We are so happy to have you back in Memphis.
I'm glad to be back. And I just want to say, finally, Mr. Chair, how grateful Lemoyne-Owen College is for the tremendous support from the Shelby County Commission that's really helping us to put the right technology in place and in the hands of our students. Thank you so much for your leadership.
I'll pass that along. Again, thank you for joining the Chairman's Perspective. This has been a great show with Carol Johnson-Dean at Lemoyne-Owen College. She's the president, and she's doing great work. We'll see you next time on the Chairman's Perspective.
The Chairman's Perspective Podcast. Executive producer, Shelby County Commission's Chairman, Mark Billingsley. Directed, produced, recorded, and distributed by KUDZUKIAN.